Welcome to my channel and my new video. It is titled America's Second Revolution and the Price of Gold. If this topic interests you, then you will definitely also be interested in Dr. Polleit's Boom and Bust Report. For investors who truly want to know what's going on in the world's economic and financial system and who wish to preserve their capital. All information can be found at www.boombustreport.com. And now let's begin with America's Second Revolution and the Price of Gold. The world is undergoing big changes, and as I see it, it is a very positive development. We are seeing changes that should make us hopeful. For the ideas of freedom and liberty are spreading at breathtaking speed in the Western world and also around the globe. First in Argentina, now also in the US. People are standing up against government coercion and oppression and corruption. They want peace, not war. They want prosperity, not poverty and misery. Most notably, the Americans have kind of rediscovered the idea of freedom. They made Donald J. Trump the new president, and Trump is fulfilling his election promises with his team. Under Trump's leadership, the fight is on against the deep state. Trump wants to push it back, disempower it, expose its mismanagement, hold wrongdoers accountable, and put a stop to their practices. And if Trump is successful, and this seems likely at this point, then the world will soon look different, more peaceful and more prosperous. Those who wish for freedom and prosperity for themselves and their fellow people have reason to be hopeful and, yes, even a bit euphoric. I don't base this assessment on individual people, but rather solely on the power of ideas of freedom and liberty that are now spreading and can no longer be contained. Many people are waking up now. Indeed, it seems that the Great Awakening has begun. In Europe, however, the ripple effects of America's Second Revolution have not really arrived yet. People here are still, due to the strong influence of their governments on the media, shielded from what's going on in the rest of the world. But probably not for much longer. Because free speech is returning to the Western world, as America is now in full support of free speech, and the renaissance of free speech will have far-reaching consequences. For example, the European Union will be put into question, and it is likely that it will not pass this test, for it will become obvious that the EU is fundamentally an interventionist socialist idea structure, which, like all its predecessors, is doomed to fail. This will likely become evident soon, perhaps as early as within the next 2 years. But it is not these thoughts that I want to follow up on here. Rather, I want to draw your attention to something else, something that is immediately relevant to you as an investor, namely that the freedom revolution will pull the rug out from under the euro. That is why I wrote the article a few days ago, Will the Euro Survive the Trump Revolution? The foundation for the single currency is cracking, which can be read in Dr. Polleit's Boom and Bust Report, 23rd issue, published on February the 6th, 2025. But the list of increasingly important topics for investors continues. In the 24th issue of Dr. Polleit's Boom and Bust Report, 3 main topics are addressed. Topic number 1. The US Federal Reserve, the mothership of the globalists, is now under scrutiny. The goal is to bring the Fed under control and perhaps even to abolish it in the long term. There are also plans to audit the US Treasury's gold reserves, a huge issue not just for investors. And topic 3, with the Trump administration, the Second American Revolution began on January the 20th, 2025. Why we can and should see it that way and what we can expect in the US going forward is explained with a brief look at US history. And finally, what's next for the price of gold? What rises can rise even higher, or is a bubble forming? We provide an assessment of the future development of the gold price, especially in light of the Second American Revolution and its global impact. Let me tell you that in Dr. Polleit's Boom and Bust report, however, not only are questions raised and risks for investors identified, but concrete solutions are also presented that both professional investors and private investors can implement. Readers of Dr. Polleit's Boom and Bust report know that in addition to precious metals like gold and silver, we also recommend to invest in productive capital. More precisely, we are always on the lookout for companies with inflation-resistant business models and keep you informed about our findings. If you want to learn more about how to protect your capital against inflation and boom and bust, then read Dr. Polleit's Boom and Bust report. You should not miss our analyses and recommendations. All information is available at www.boombustreport.com. I appreciate your interest and I thank you very much for your attention.